So today I thought I'd show you a whole strip of famous graves, and about 3/4 of them I've never seen myself. So I just figured I would show ones that we've done different vlogs on in the past as we're going by them. So over here we have the grave of the great Casey Stengel. Charles Dillon Casey Stengel, for over 60 years, one of America's folk heroes who contribute immensely to the lore and language of our country's national pastime, baseball. Son of Louis E. and Jenny Stengel, born Kansas City, Missouri, July 30th, 1890. Hey, that's my birthday. Married Edna Lawson, August 18th, 1924. Inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame, July 25th, 1966. Died in Glendale, 1975. There comes a time in every man's life, and I've had plenty of them. There he is with the Yankee hat on. So we're in the Court of Freedom. Sometimes this is unlocked and sometimes it's not. It's usually not, but last time I was here it was unlocked and somebody happened to be in here today. But right here is Natalie Cole and her husband, Robert Yancey, who was a drummer. And Natalie was, of course, a star in her own right. She was the daughter of Nat King Cole, and even did the duet later in life with him where they kind of CGI'd them together. But she got her start. She was a big fan of like Aretha Franklin, Janis Joplin, and started her own bands, and clubs would book her because of her name and who she was, and then they'd be disappointed she was doing like rock and R&B covers. So she ended up finding a producer, and they recorded at Curtis Mayfield's studio in Chicago, and she ended up getting a deal out of that. Had a successful career for a few years, and then shifted gears and did a little bit of everything. Switched her musical style. She started acting, doing a lot of stuff. It says, daughter of a king, mother of a prince, beloved daughter, sister, mother, friend, and entertainer. I have fought the good fight, and I have finished the race, and I have remained faithful. Now, what's crazy is I noticed as I was walking over to her, I couldn't believe who it was right over here, so I had to even look it up to make sure. This is Joseph Jackson. I showed you Michael's grave, or where he is. Joseph is all the way across the cemetery here by himself. Father of the Jackson Five, all the Jackson kids, Janet, LaToya, and he's the reason that they all became famous. He was widely considered to be abusive, but he saw talent in his kids and forced them to rehearse. They ended up becoming so good that they were getting gigs, making money, and then Motown came and signed them, and they became some of the biggest stars of their day. Joseph Walter Jackson. I wonder if Catherine will be here as well, or any of the kids. Now as we go past Washington at Valley Forge, I know of a grave right inside these doors. I'm going to stop in there. There's several people in there buried, but I've vlogged most of them in the past. Like Larry Fine's in there and Nat King Cole, but they generally don't like you to film stuff in there. But I'm going to sneak in and just do one. Over here is the final resting place of Alan Ladd. I hold no dream of fortune vast, nor seek undying fame. I do not ask when life is fast, that many know my name, and I can live my life on earth, contented to the end, if but a few shall know my worth, and proudly call me friend. Shane, one of the biggest actors of his day. He had a very sad ending. He passed at his home apparently done by himself in Palm Springs. So over here in the Garden of Everlasting Peace, right over here in the corner, is the grave of Spencer Tracy. Right there. It's actually open today. Normally not open. Yes, Spencer Tracy had a long illness. He was widely considered to be one of the greatest actors of all time. Everybody that worked with him really admired him. People wanted to work with him because he was, a benchmark talent. You were getting a great actor when you got him. And he ended up, of course, he was married, but he ended up having basically a lifelong affair for the rest of his life with Katharine Hepburn. And so they were together, but he and his wife never got divorced or anything. Spencer would actually work mostly from the time he met Katharine Hepburn on only with her. So it was his performance. She got him to do the movie with Sidney Poitier at the very end because he was in failing health, but she knew he'd be great in the movie and knew it'd be great for him. So she just talked the producers into only filming partial days and working around his limitations. But also, not far from him, right over here is another very famous leading man. This statue over here is right behind the final resting place of Errol Flynn. Errol, of course, swashbuckling, debonair, leading man in his day, also could be known to be very difficult to work with when he wanted to be. He also had some serious problems with women in his life. He was addicted to women. He absolutely was addicted to women, and some might even say underage women, because he had a lot of them in his life. Ended up even having to go to court because he was accused of assaulting and taking advantage of an underage woman, and then picked up another one at the courthouse, like started dating another one at the courthouse who was underage as well while he was going and fighting this. So crazy life. He made a lot of money, lost a lot of money. He owed his ex-wife a ton of money, but he's here. He didn't want to be buried here at all. He was not, in the end, a fan of the Hollywood life, and had won an island at one point, like won a hotel on an island, and kind of wanted to be buried there, but he's buried here. Errol Flynn died in his hotel room in Canada, kind of unexpectedly. Was complaining of heart pains, and then not more than an hour or so later, unresponsive, taken to the hospital and dead. There's a famous grave back here. This is the grave of Walt Disney. Try and keep my shadow out of it, but yeah, it's just this little mermaid type statue. And on the wall over here it says Walter Elias Disney, Lillian Bounds Disney, Robert B. Brown, Sharon Disney Brown Lund, ashes scattered in paradise. So, final resting place of where the ashes would have been scattered for Walt Disney, the head of the Walt Disney Corporation. Started all the wonderful cartoon movies that we know. Started the theme park. I think everybody knows who Walt Disney is. So now we're back over by the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and we're looking for a famous actress buried over here. So this is who we're looking for. Julie Bishop, who passed as Julie Shoup Bergen. You can see she was Major General Clarence A. Shoup. Radiant, resilient, loved and revered. Hey, that's a great way to be remembered, isn't it? So Julie got her start working for Hal Roach and did a lot of the Charlie Chase, Laurel and Hardy type movies. Nothing really major. I mean, she was in the Laurel and Hardy movie, The Bohemian Girl, but she had kind of a weak contract where they didn't have to use her as a star or anything like that. So she ended up leaving and eventually signing with Columbia, and then she was offered a contract 2 years later, because they weren't doing anything with her, by Warner Brothers. They originally chose the name Jacqueline Wells, but then they decided to switch it to Julie Bishop, and that's where her professional name ended up coming in. She made 16 films at Warner. Action in the North Atlantic with Humphrey Bogart, Princess O'Rourke, starring Olivia de Havilland, Robert Cummings. She was in Northern Pursuit. She was in Sands of Iwo Jima with John Wayne, The High and the Mighty. She had a nice long career, but she retired from acting in '57. She did it for about almost 30 years, and sadly ended up dying on her 87th birthday of pneumonia. Now, right across from where we just were, which is right over there, now we're at the grave of actress Lilli Palmer. And Lilli Palmer was a British-born actress who ended up marrying actor Rex Harrison, and they ended up having a kid together. But that's how her career really got its start, is that she had appeared in the Moulin Rouge in London and ended up marrying Rex Harrison in 1943, and then traveled to Hollywood with him, and she signed with Warner Brothers, where she ended up being in Cloak and Dagger, Body and Soul. She was in a lot of stage plays, but her and Rex Harrison ended up divorcing in 1956, and you can see on here it says that Carrie was their son. So it says right there, Lilli Palmer Thompson, 24th of May 1914 in Posen, Germany, 27th of January 1986 in Los Angeles. Born Lily Maria, daughter of Rose Lissman and Dr. Surgeon Alfred Pizer, mother of Carrie Harrison Palmer, unique wife, that's an interesting way of saying it, unique wife of Carlos Thompson Palmer, with whom she keeps their pact forever and beyond, and their creed, to die is but to pass from one room into another. That's very sweet. Rex Harrison was known for being kind of a playboy, so probably not a bad idea, her having a second marriage where she was truly in love. So now we're looking for one last person. A lot of people will know this name, especially if you're a true crime buff or if you follow Los Angeles crime history. Vincent Bugliosi. So we walked from that staircase over here, and now we're on the back side of this wall, and if you come all the way to almost the other wall over here, he's right here. That is the final resting place of Vincent Bugliosi, who was the prosecutor against the Manson family. So he was the one that connected Charles Manson as being the leader of this cult that ended up going up to Cielo Drive, killing all the people up on Cielo Drive, and then the next night going to Waverly and killing the La Biancas. He ended up putting all that together and prosecuted them, kind of showed that Charles Manson had orchestrated this hit, and even tied it into race, which was how he ended up getting his conviction. They all got convicted, and the death penalties were handed out, and of course California rescinded the death penalty, so they all got life in prison. But it says on here, Vincent T. Bugliosi, August 18th, 1934. He's actually born in Hibbing, Minnesota. Died June 6, 2015. In the eyes of the world, the great majority of men are Neither indispensable nor irreplaceable. A small minority are irreplaceable, but not indispensable. Our much-loved husband and father was both. Forever enshrine him in the rarefied pantheon of greats. Let my work speak for itself. So he not only successfully was able to get them convicted, he also wrote the most popular crime novel in history. He wrote Helter Skelter, which has sold millions and millions of copies. If you use it as a headline on YouTube, you're almost guaranteed to get hits. And you know what's crazy about Vincent Bugliosi? Scott Michaels sent him a poster and asked him to sign it. And I think he said years went by, and then Vincent Bugliosi died. And Scott thought, well, I'll never get that poster back. And then he goes to his post office box, and they tell him that one of his packages had fallen behind the back of something, and it was a tube, and it was his poster. So after Vincent Bugliosi passed away, Scott Michaels got his poster back signed. Now, what else is crazy is Katie and I were in Galena, Illinois, going through an antique store, and we find a section of books, and it says signed books. And one was on the OJ trial. It was written by Mark Furman. So I opened it up and I looked at it and I said, Katie, that's not Mark Furman's signature. She looks at it and she goes, no. And she closes the book and looks on the cover, and the foreword was done by Vincent Bugliosi. So we ended up buying that book for $9. So we now have also a Vincent Bugliosi autograph. Unfortunately, it's not on Helter Skelter, but man, that book is one of those reads that people have read it and then just become completely entranced with that story. Unfortunately, several of the people that were convicted have been granted parole, and one actually got out. The others, they've told that they were denied. They were originally paroled, and then the governor refused to let them out. But Manson, as we know, is dead. Well, my friends, we're going to call it a day. I hope you enjoyed our short tour of Forest Lawn, Glendale. You could be here forever looking and finding people. I've shown a lot of them in the past. So I want to show a handful today that I've never shown before, along with some familiar names. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Have a great night, and goodbye.